As you know, on Sunday night or Monday morning of every week, we post a new expository semiotics explaining why we would choose which lectionary readings. But in these readings, our dream is, and our desire is, to help you read the signs and fondle the details and spot the seminal metaphors, the condensed signs and the stories that are key for preaching to a digital culture. So strap on your seatbelt and join us as we prospect our passages for today. Len Sweet here for Lectionary Vlog number 33. We are now in November 1st, and this is the 22nd Sunday after Pentecost. Our scripture readings, first of all, is in Joshua. This is the great story, Joshua 3, from verse 7 to 17, of the crossing of the Jordan with the priests carrying the Ark of the Covenant. And doing so, there's their own little mini kind of parting of the waters to get the Ark passed through. The Psalm, what a great Psalm. Psalm 107, oh, give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, for his mercy endures forever. Let the redeemed of the Lord speak out, whom he has redeemed from the hand of the enemy and gathered them from the lands, from east and from the west. What a great Psalm. So there's a lot there in that one Psalm. It goes 107, 1 to 7, and 33 to 37. And this massive, marvelous refrain, his love endures forever. His love endures forever. What a litany. His love endures forever. Get them to say it after you. You just make a statement, and the people say, what? His love endures forever. The epistle reading, 1 Thessalonians, the second chapter, 9 to 13. And this is the admonition for you. Remember, brothers, our labor and toil, laboring night and day, so as not to be an expense to any of you. We preach to you the gospel of God, and you and God are witnesses. And then it goes on about his own testimony there and what it means to have an integrity between the rhetoric that you offer and the reality in which you live. And that is basically the subject for the passage that I've chosen to spend a little time with you on, which is Matthew, the 23rd chapter, 1 through 12. This is the passage where Jesus is making a huge distinction between a piety that demonstrates care and concern for others because you want others to know you for your care and concern. I call that piosity. Versus a piety that shows care and concern for others because you genuinely care. You don't care how you're known. You don't care how others perceive you. It's not about you. See, a lot of our compassion is about us. We want to be seen as being compassionate. No, Jesus is saying, no. It's all about your heart. And is there actually a depth, dimension of care and compassion for others that has nothing to do with how you're being seen by the world? And so this is the passage that we're looking at. Then Jesus said to the crowds and to his disciples, the scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. Therefore, whatever they tell you to observe, that observe and do. But do not do their works, for they speak, but do nothing. They fasten heavy loads that are hard to carry and lay them on the shoulders of the people, but they themselves will not move them with their finger. Wow. They do all their works to be seen by men. They make their scriptures boxes broad and lengthen the tassels on their prayer shawls. They love the places of honor at feasts and the prominent seats in the synagogues and greetings in the marketplaces and being called rabbi by men. But do not be called rabbi, for you have one rabbi, one teacher, the Christ, and you are all brothers. And call no one on earth your father, For you have one Father who is in heaven. Nor be called teachers, for you have one teacher, the Christ. For he who is greatest among you shall be your servant. For he who exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted. What does it mean to be true to who you are and to live out of who you are and to have the reality by which you live match the rhetoric by which you speak? This is the essence of integrity. This is what it means to have integrity. Now, there's a place beyond integrity, and there's a word that talks about it. It's called probity. Probity is integrity that has been tested, tried, and found true. It rings true. So a person who has probity has actually been put through the fire and has come out with that integrity. So Jesus is calling for his disciples here to have integrity, but that means to be who you are. And I want to say something about what does it mean that do we know who we are? Do we know who God made us? And are we living out of our isness, the isness of who we are? There's this medieval theologian, his name was Duns Scotus, and he insisted that the biblical story of the naming, where God draws us into partnership, and we together name the creations that God is making. Through the naming of every living thing, we are essentially then calling its essence into existence by that name. So that name is a designation of the isness, the essence of what that thing is. So everything that lives in some way has that breath of God in them, that divine isness that is divinely designed and made, and is connected to the divine by that partnership and that process of naming. So that naming calls out their uniqueness, their particularity, their one-of-a-kindness. You're just unrepeatable, irreplaceable, one-of-a-kind isness. Now, Duns Scotus, called this being's uniqueness, the English translation is isness, and that's why I used it. But in Latin is haecceity, the haecceitas, the Haecceity, the haecceity, the isness, the uniqueness. W.H. Auden, one of my favorite 20th century poets, called it everything's eachness. Everything has an eachness. Each one is a one each. Each one is a one-off. Each one is an unrepeatable original. And we are called to live out of that originality. That originality comes out of the original design that God made for us. But we each have an isness, an eachness. He is the way, writes the poet W.H. Auden. Follow him through the land of uniqueness, unlikeness. You will see rare beasts and have unique adventures. We aren't called to make the faith an agenda. We're called to make the faith an adventure in discovering our haecceity, our isness, our uniqueness, our eachness. And that adventure is one that we share together. Now, C.S. Lewis, he draws on another medieval phrase, and this is actually my favorite one, and I love this one. And you find this in his autobiography that he wrote called Surprised by Joy. But in this, he draws on this medieval word, quiddity. All right? I like quiddity because it kind of goes with oddity. And a lot of us aren't odd enough. We aren't living out of our oddness. We want to be like everybody else. We want to be clones. We want to conform and fit in. No, we're to fit together. And we live out of and the word is quiddity. And it's rediscovered by C.S. Lewis. And he defines it as the inherent nature or essence of something or someone, hence that isness, that haexiety we talked about with Duns Scotus. It's the whatness of what is. Okay. So each of you has a quiddity. Each of you is a quiddity. You have unique tastes. You have unique smells. You have unique vibes. You have a unique aura. And when you live out of your uniqueness, your quiddity, that is your beauty. Your beauty is in your quiddity. That integrity between who you are, who God made you, the uniqueness of who God made you to be, and how you are living your life on an everyday basis. So your beauty is found. Everything's beauty is found in its quiddity, in its particularity. And pastors, you're the ones that bring out the quiddity in others, not the sameness in others. Oh, let's all be same here together. No. We bring out the quiddity in others. We point to the quiddity in things. I mean, the Trappist monastery, Trappist monk, Thomas Merton, loved Shaker furniture because he said there's no other furniture that brings out the unique essence of that piece of wood. And every Shaker furniture just draws forth and showcases the inner life. He called it the logos, the innermost principle, being of that material, of that wood. And your calling and mine, and this is a phrase that C.S. Lewis uses, rub noses. We are called to rub noses with the quiddity of each person. We're called to kiss the quiddity of every person and place that you encounter, to embrace it, to receive it, to be hospitable to its strangeness. I don't care how ugly the world thinks it is. Everything, no matter how the world defines it as ugly or as beautiful, everything that God made has a quiddity. And every place has a quiddity. And can we live and find God in that, to enter into that quiddity, the quiddity of each day. Every day is a unique gift. There's being no one like it. This day has a quiddity. This moment has a quiddity. And to do that, though, to enter the quiddity of another human being, you've got to do three things. I'm sure you have to do more, but these are the three that come to mind, okay? But I think these are the most important. We're Trinitarian thinkers, so we think in threes. And so here's what we have to do. It's off, on, high. Okay, off. First thing we off is the auto. You got to turn your autobiography off. This is hard for some people to do. Some people can never leave their autobiography, and you never leave their story. If you'll know what I'm talking about when I just mentioned it. Somebody, people like this. Somebody talks about, they just came from the doctor and they have this disease, and they're depressed about it. They don't know what to do about it. They're looking actually for comfort, and immediately there is that person, and it's in all of us because we are tempted. Every one of us is tempted to do this. Every one of us wants to take their disease and immediately put it into our story. Okay, did I ever have that disease? When did I have that disease? What was that disease like for me? And can I tell you about my disease that I had exactly like yours? And we spend the rest of the time talking about our disease, not listening to them. See, you got to get out to enter the quiddity of another human being off the auto. You got to get out of your own autobiography. You got to get out of yourself. That's why Jesus said, if you lose yourself, you humble yourself, you'll be exalted. You exalt yourself, you'll be humble. No, you got to humble yourself. Just leave your own quiddity and receive the quiddity of someone else. So we have to step outside ourselves, enter into their story, enter into their unique situation at that moment. the phrase that I use all the time. There's no understanding without standing under. You've got to stand under, which means you've got to get outside of yourself and enter into the story of somebody else. So you off the auto. Just flip it off. Now, the second thing you do is you on the all-there-ness. Now, the highest compliment you can give anybody is to be there for them. It's not to say anything. It's not to do anything. It's to be there. But not just to be there partially, you know. You be there in your all-there-ness. You are all there for them. And I just make it one word, all-there-ness. It's paying attention, living in a state of attentiveness, and even sometimes sleeping in a state of attentiveness, because a state of attention, because that's what dreaming is. True dreaming that helps you solve problems is you're sleeping in a state of attention. You're attending to what is in your life, and your mind is dealing with it and coming up with solutions to it and perspectives in it. As it's attending, it's your life story, even when you're sleeping. So it's a state of attentiveness. Jesus had this phrase, we call it, verily, verily, I say unto thee. NIV calls it, I tell you the truth, but you can easily translate it, listen up or pay attention. It's one of Jesus' favorite phrases, pay attention. Can you pay attention to your life? Can you pay attention to this person's life? Pay attention. Be there for them. Find the eternal in the everyday. Find the eternal in the essentials of life. Find the elemental in the elementary, the primal in the primary. You have to turn on your all-there-ness. And in many ways, that's the greatest gift you can give somebody. It's just to be all there for them. So, off the auto, on the all-there-ness. And the third one is you put on high the aural, A-U-R-A-L. Ramp up as high as you can make it, the aural, your listening skills. So off the auto, on the all-there-ness, and ramp up the listening skills as you hear another person. You hear forth and you hear from them, and you enter their quiddity. You listen to the other. You get inside their skin. You wear their shoes. You put on their glasses. You, whatever you want to phrase it, you listen. And Nell Morton, a professor at Drew, where I was for many years and still do teach, had a phrase, you hear into speech. Yeah, many of us, we speak into speech. No, we hear. I have no right to speak into your life till I first heard. I say evangelism is less show and tell, and shut up and listen. Just experience. Be in a relationship with the quiddity of each person. Hear them out. Ramp up the aural. So, off the auto, on the all-there-ness. High. Ramp up. As high as you can make it. Your listening abilities to hear them into speech and to hear forth their uniqueness. And that is the uniqueness that we bring to God, because God made you, God made me a one of a kind. There's no one, there will never be another one like you. We spend our life tragically trying to be like somebody else. Oh, I want to be like them. No, you're a one of a kind, unrepeatable, irreplaceable song. There's only going to be one song like you ever sung in the universe. So learn to sing your song. Your song, not somebody else's song, not somebody you think can, oh, I really like their song better. No, it's your song. And this is, you learned some Latin today, so you're going to learn some Hebrew. This is the second most sacred word in the Hebrew language. The most sacred you can't speak. It's so sacred. YHWH. We say Yahweh. But Sometimes you just do this when you talk about the Creator God. You gesture it because it's so sacred. You don't even speak it. The most sacred word, though, you can speak is a word that was spoken by Moses, spoken by Abraham, spoken by David. I mean, over and over again, God calls them for a unique mission. God calls them into their quiddity. And they come out of their hiding places. They present themselves to the great I am. And they say this word, Hineni. Hineni. And it literally means, here am I. In all of my weakness and all of my uniqueness and all of my isness, whatness, quiddity, inscape, as Gerard Manley Hopkins, the poet, he loved the word inscape. Everybody has a unique inscape. Whatever you call it, here am I to the great I am. And this is the very essence of integrity, that we can stand one day before the Creator who made us in all of our hexiety, isness, quiddity, and say to the great I am, you created me in your image, God. I have been made in the divine image. And so, Hineni, here I present myself to you. Am I in the presence of the great I am. Semiotics is the art of angling, of turning things askew, upside down, inside out, cattywampus, sunny side up, over easy, scrambled, hard-boiled. We hope you enjoyed today's journey, but always remember, it's more important you prepare the preacher than you prepare the sermon.